Hey, good afternoon everyone. This is Paul Rhodes with Sizzling Arrow Outdoors. So I wanted to do a quick video regarding or kind of piggybacking on a podcast that I did about 2 weeks ago on the Sizzling Arrow podcast. And the podcast was about a beginner's guide to hunting. So pretty much I went through all the equipment that you may need to get started hunting, talked a little bit about cost and everything with that. But I wanted to do this video to have kind of a visual to what I was talking about in the podcast. And again, this here is for beginners. This is not for the novice hunter. I mean, if you want to watch it, great, but I'm just letting you know now that this is going over the equipment necessary to get started hunting. It's not for the novice hunters. This is for the person that wants to get started into hunting, who's never been hunting before, never done it before, but has always had an interest in doing it but didn't know how to start. So if that's you, please stick around and we'll go over some of the equipment that I feel is the best equipment to get you started with. So first I've got a lot of stuff right here, as you can see, but we're going to kind of start off with the firepower, or the weapon part of the whole thing. So depending on what you're wanting to start hunting with, so whether you want to do rifle hunting or bow hunting, you're going to need a rifle or a bow. So we're going to start with the bow right here. So I've got my Mathews VXR. This is more of a top of the line hunting bow. You can get ready set up bows with the sight, the quiver, rest at some of the bigger box stores for quite reasonable. My recommendation is, if you're looking to get into bow hunting, go to your local pro shop. Just Google archery shops in my area and go talk to some of the knowledgeable people down in the pro shop, and they'll get you set up with either a used bow or a new bow. I'm a firm believer in the buy once, cry once. I mean, for this setup that I've got here, you're looking probably about $2,200-$2,300, if not a little bit more. But what I've got is, as I said, the VXR 31.5. You're going to need a release. I use the thumb release. This one is the Max Pro. It's a True Ball Max Pro thumb release. I've got the 3-finger because I like to have that little bit of option. I usually put my finger behind it though. Just makes me feel a little bit more in control. You've got your sight, which is right here, and I'm trying not to hit my lamp. You've got your sight. I've got the HHA Tetra on this one. It's a single pin. Some people prefer single pin. I prefer single pin. Other people prefer the either 3-prong or 4-prong. I mean, there's a lot of different options out there, a lot of different price points out there. So really, you can spend as much as you want or as little as you want with your bow setup. The bows that they make today, there's a lot of really nice bows out there. I just prefer the feel and the shootability of the Mathews. But if you're not wanting to put that kind of money into a bow, Bear's got a few decent bows out there. Bowtech has a couple bows as well that are pretty good. Honestly, I started with the PSE back, I don't know, years ago. I don't know how many years ago, 25 years ago maybe. That was my first bow, compound bow anyway, was a PSE, and I don't even know the make of it. But anyway, going back into it, you're gonna need a rest. That way you can put your arrow on it. I use the QAD. This is the Ultra Rest Integrated Rest. This is made for the Mathews and the new Hoyts. And then you're gonna need a quiver. Especially if you're spot stalking. I mean, even tree stand hunting, you're going to want something to carry all your arrows in, and you're going to want arrows, of course. You need something to shoot out of your bow. These are the Full Metal Jacket. They're Eastman's Full Metal Jacket, and they're 5mm. They're a little bit skinnier, but they're a pretty heavy arrow. I like them. They're pretty straight. I mean, they shoot good. So, and then you've got your stabilizer right here. This kind of gets your bow to stabilize a little bit better when you're shooting and give you a little bit better feel in the hand. But that right there is really the bow setup. You have your release, your bow, your sight, your rest, quiver, and arrows. So you can search around, see which bow fits your price point. And I'm going to see if I can set it over here without knocking something over. And yeah, that should be good. All right. So, but anyway, like I was saying, you can search around, find a used bow at your local pro shop. I would just go in and talk to the guys at your local pro shop and see what they have, like what their recommendations would be. They'll get you all set up, get your measurements, make sure your draw length is correct, make sure your pull weight's where you have it comfortable, make sure your peep sights. Oh, that was another thing I forgot to mention. So on the string, you're going to have a peep sight. So this is what you kind of look through. Okay, so when you pull the bow back, you look through this hole in the string or through the peep sight, and you align it with the pin that you're wanting to use. You also have a D-loop right here. This is where you hook your release to the string, and you can pull that back using that. And then I use a kisser button. It just makes my anchor a little more accurate each time, and makes it to where I get the same anchor every time. So that's very, very accurate. Or not accurate, but it's a good thing to have on there, especially if you're just getting started. Now, if you're going to do rifle hunting, of course you're going to want your rifle. This is the Winchester Model 70. It's chambered in a 270 Winchester, and really if you're looking to start off with rifle hunting and you're looking to hunt just deer, maybe even up to elk, 270 30-06 is a good all-around caliber. It's going to kill pretty much anything within the deer family: mule deer, antelope, whitetail, elk, coos deer, any of those species. You'll be fine with that. Now, if you're looking to go into like moose hunting or something a little bit bigger game, you're going to want to bump up the caliber. But I mean, if you're just starting hunting, I don't think that you're going to be going after moose right away. So get a good all-around caliber. 270 30-06 is my go-tos for just an all-around caliber. When you have your rifle, you're going to want a scope. I recommend to put a little bit more money into the scope, because a good quality scope will definitely make things a little bit easier for you. This one is a Nikon Pro Staff 3x9x40. I don't know, I like the adjustability of the 3x9, and that's what I've always used, and that's kind of what I'm sticking with. I'm not really going to vary from that. But my recommendation, the Nikon Pro Staff, I'm happy with that scope. Also, the Vortex brand has really good scopes. I've got the Crossfire and Diamondback on a couple other rifles, but you won't go wrong with either one. They're good scopes, and they're not that expensive either, so you can get into one for a pretty good price. Now, of course, you're going to want shells in the gun, so you're going to need a box of shells at least. I'd probably recommend getting 2 boxes. I'm trying to think, it is 100 and I want to say I'm using 150 grain bullet in this 270. I could be off. It's been quite a few years since I've actually shot this, since I've been doing primarily bow hunting. But I think it's 150 grain. It might be 160 grain bullet. But I'd recommend getting a couple different grains. See which one shoots out of your rifle the best. The Ruger American rifle is a good budget rifle to go into. Some of them come with a scope. And if you listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and I go over that a little bit too, and kind of tell you of a few different rifles that you can look at on a budget. So next we're going to go into the binoculars. So no matter what you're hunting, whether you're hunting eastern timber or midwestern open plains, you need a good pair of binoculars so you can glass the surrounding area and look for the animal that you're pursuing. I use the Vortex Viper. These are a 10x42. I actually upgraded this year from the Vortex Diamondbacks. Very happy with the Vortex brand. These ones, the Vipers, MSRP for $4.99. I think they go on up to maybe $600. These ones I got on sale for $300, and I'm very pleased with them. Very clear, light, not too bulky. But anyway, you're going to need a good pair of binoculars. Now, if you're, again, on a budget, they do have budget binoculars out there that will get the job done. My first pair of binoculars was in a cheap Bushnell. I think they were $50 or $60. But they did the job for me for quite a few years, and then I upgraded when I could. Another thing you're going to want, if you're archery hunting, this is definitely very important. Rifle hunting as well, but archery hunting a little more so. It's a good rangefinder. I use the Nikon ProStaff 1000. This is an older model, but it ranges. So what a rangefinder does is it ranges the distance from you and the target. So this tells you exactly how far that target is that you're going to be shooting. And this, instead of playing the guessing game, and more times than not, especially if you're beginning, if you're guessing the distance or the yardage, you're probably going to miss, or worse off, you're going to wound the deer and probably not find it, and the deer's going to suffer. And that's the last thing as hunters, that's the last thing that we want to do as hunters, is to wound an animal and then have it suffer and not be able to find it, because we're out there hunting for meat, and also we're out there for the enjoyment of experiencing the outdoors, and the last thing we want to do is to do something for me, it makes me sick when that happens. It does happen. Just so you know that you will wound an animal and you will not be able to find it, and it's the worst feeling in the world. So, but if you have a rangefinder, you'll be able to ensure that you know exactly how far that animal is, and that way you don't make a bad shot because you didn't know how far it was and you just guessed. So get a good rangefinder, a good pair of binoculars. Now, if you're hunting out west and you're going to be doing a lot of spot and stalk and looking for yards upon yards, you're going to want a spotting scope. I do, I hunt in North Carolina primarily, but I do travel out west every once in a while. So investing in a good spotting scope was crucial for me, especially when I was outfitting. I used to run an outfitting business and took people on hunts out in Wyoming. So this was definitely very important. I've got this is an old model Vortex. It's a Skyline 20 by 60 by 80 magnification. It gets out there, it reaches where I want it to go, and it's got a dual focus dial on it, which is really cool. This thing has served me very well. It's actually taken a pretty good beating over the years, but you can get into a spotting scope for as little or as much as you want. Now, of course, like with anything, you get what you pay for. The cheaper ones are only going to last you maybe a couple seasons. The more expensive ones are going to last you a lot longer. And they're going to also, the cheaper ones are going to lose their clarity a lot quicker. The more expensive ones are going to keep that clarity throughout the life of the optic. And with Vortex, they have a lifetime guarantee on it, so if it ever messes up or anything, they will fix it. And I've had to send this one back to get it looked at because I thought it wasn't performing as well as it should. They cleaned it up, took a look at it, fixed up I think one mechanism inside, and then sent it back to me. So if you have something that's not performing as well as you think it should, with Vortex, they will take a look at it and fix it up for you and send it back. So no questions asked on that. Very good company in my opinion as far as customer service. But anyway, going on into some of the other stuff, knives. So you're going to want good knives because you're going to need something to field dress the animal, which is gutting the animal, because you don't want to be carrying that around. You need to get those out of the animal as soon as possible so it doesn't start to spoil the meat, because you want to get that meat cool as quickly as possible. So you need to get the insides out as quickly as you can. So I've got a 3 set. So I've got the small one right here. This is for little bitty jobs, kind of getting into the hard to get places. Very, very handy. Then I've got a little bit bigger one. This is more of my kind of going through skinning, gutting, just kind of medium-sized jobs. And then when I need to take off the shoulders, whatnot, I've got the bigger knife right here, and this one I use for skinning as well. So I've got 3 different knives. Now, I want to say they're the Peranta, or even Outdoor Edge has the replaceable blades knives. Those ones are good. You can get a set of those. I think they run anywhere from $50 to $90. But those, and I've got that knife too for when I don't want to pack a whole bunch of stuff with me. But they have replaceable surgical blades that you can put onto it, and those will pretty much do any job you want them to. And then once you have doled up that blade, you can discard that blade and just replace it with another one. So that is very convenient, and if you're only going to get one knife, honestly, I'd probably recommend that one. if you are only looking to get one knife for right now. But anyway, like I said, I've got the small, medium, and large set there, and they have worked out well for me over the years. Another thing you're going to want if you're whitetail hunting, if you're hunting out of a tree stand, you're going to want a good grunt call. This one is, it's a flex tone grunt call, but I've got a buck, doe, and fawn call in there. Just with a click of the slide of this right here, it gives you the different calls. And so you got the buck, doe, and then fawn. So, and then you've got a snort wheeze call up top. But these are very handy, especially during the rut when they're running around looking and being very vocal. You're going to want that where you're in the whitetail woods. So good deer call, they run about 20 bucks probably, depending on where you get it at. I have a rattling bag, and I've also got a set of rattling antlers. If you can't get a pair of antlers, I recommend actual antlers, not those fake ones you get at the store. Those ones, I haven't had any luck with those. When I was younger, I tried them out, didn't do me any good. But this bag right here actually works really well. It's very packable, doesn't clang and bang around, doesn't poke you in the ribs when you're trying to get up into a tree stand. So I would recommend this if you're only looking to get one other call. It's very packable, and if you can't get the antlers from like a taxidermist or something like that, that's what I did honestly with my rattling antlers. I went over to a local taxidermist and see if they had any sheds that they could spare, and luckily he was able to give me one. But anyway, calls, you're going to want the grunt call and then the rattle bag if you're hunting whitetail. You're going to need a headlamp. This is very important because you're going to be going into the woods in the dark, you're going to be coming out of the woods in the dark. So you need something to shine your way so you don't end up tripping over a log or something, because I mean, the woods, if you've never been out there in the dark, they look a lot different than they do in the daylight. So you want something to be able to shine your way through that. So we're going to kind of go into the clothing aspect of things, and I didn't bring, well, before I do that, I didn't bring down, well, let's go into the clothing and then we'll get into that. So anyway, if you're rifle hunting, you're going to need blaze orange something. I've got a blaze orange vest. I like this because I can either hang it on the back of my backpack or wear it on my chest. I've even hung it from the back of my hat. You can get hats, you can get jackets. I mean, they've got blaze orange pretty much anything, but this is a good cheap way to have a blaze orange to stay safe during the rifle season and to be legal while you're out there in the field, because you have to wear one of these. It's a safety precaution. When we're talking about camouflage or clothes, so it really depends on where you hunt. If you hunt in, let's say, the south part of the country to where it's hot, doesn't really get that cold, you know, Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, hunting in those hotter states, you're going to want some cool weather camo. You're not really going to need any cold weather camo, honestly. So, you know, you're going to need a hat. I've got the Under Armour Baron hat. You're going to need, of course, a camo shirt. This is just a basic camo shirt, nothing crazy, very simple, basic. You're going to need a pair of gloves for, I mean, these are for cold weather, but they have like little cool weather, kind of like nylon gloves that you can wear. Honestly, what I was doing this season, it worked out pretty well, is I just got some of the camouflage face paint and I just painted the back of my hands, and that seemed to camouflage me up pretty well. But anyway, you're going to need a pair of gloves to walk out into the stand, because you don't want to be grabbing a bunch of twigs and brush where you walk out to your tree stand. It alleviates some of the human scent that you'll be spreading out in the woods if you have gloves on. So anyway, I've talked about the shirt and the hat. You're going to need a good cool weather pair of pants. These are the Ridge Reaper Raiders, and they're durable, but they're light. I mean, you're not going to get hot in these, and you can honestly wear these into probably the mid-season. You may need to just put on a pair of base layer, or maybe a pair of sweatpants or something underneath it to keep it a little warmer. But these are good early season pants, and they would should go into the mid-season, even in some of the late season, depending on where you're at. So I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy Under Armour clothing. It's a little bit more expensive. Depending on what your budget is, you can find basic camouflage clothing online or at your local retailers for pretty reasonable. But I'm just saying about the type of clothing you need. I'm not talking about a specific brand here. If you're hunting in colder climates, out west where it snows, even in North Carolina here, it gets pretty cold during the rifle season, late season. Wisconsin, Michigan up north, you're going to want something a little bit heavier than the cool weather. So you're going to need a jacket. I've got, this one is the Under Armour Timber jacket. And then you're going to need a warm pair of pants. These are the Under Armour Timber pants. Now these are PrimaLoft insulated, so they're really warm. You're not going to get cold in these things. They are water resistant, wind resistant. So they're a good cold weather pair of pants, and you can layer underneath them too. You can put a base layer, warm underwear, long underwear underneath it, and be even warmer with it. But what I would recommend is if you hunt in the cooler climates or the colder climates up north or out west, you probably want to get your good. I would spend a little bit more money on your outerwear, the the cold weather clothing, insulated clothing, and then just get very basic clothing for underneath. My dad hunted in Wyoming for many years, and he hunted in blue jeans and a cowboy shirt and cowboy boots. I don't think he really ever hunted with camouflage at all, but he was pretty successful rifle hunting. He didn't do a lot of bow hunting, but rifle hunting, the camouflage is really not quite as important as you would need if you're bow hunting, because you don't have to get as close. So it really depends on what kind of, if you're hunting rifle or bow, how important the camouflage is. But my opinion, I use camouflage whether I'm rifle or bow hunting, but again, I'm hunting in the timber most of the time, so I'm about the same distance whether I'm shooting with a rifle or with a bow. So another thing you probably want is just like a beanie or stocking hat. I have a neck gaiter. It's warm neck gaiter. They have early season neck gaiters too. But this is a good way to keep the chill off your neck. And I don't know about you guys, but if my neck gets cold, the rest of my body gets cold, just like my feet. Speaking of feet, you're going to need a good pair of boots. I don't have my boots down here with me, but you've got a couple different options. You've got the rubber boots, and you've got the regular hunting boots. So either one's going to be fine. I really don't have a whole lot to say about that. Just get a good pair of boots, good quality pair of boots that you're going to be comfortable in. Again, take into account the climate that you're hunting in. Hot weather, you're going to want an uninsulated boot. Rubber boots are probably really good for that. I've had really good luck wearing rubber boots out here in the early season. If you're hunting in the colder climates and you're doing a lot of hiking boots that are insulated would probably be your best bet. But again, you should get those at your local retailer. Another thing that you're going to want is a day pack. This is not a day pack. This is a multi-day pack, frame pack, but my day pack is upstairs in the bag. But you're going to want a day pack, something that you can put all this gear into when you go out into either the tree stand or into the field. If you're hunting out west and you're doing a lot of spot and stalking, I would recommend a little bit bigger pack like this one. It's got a frame on it in the back. It's a little bit easier on your back when you're carrying a lot of stuff, because if you're spot and stalking, you're out there all day, you're going to be carrying a little bit more than just binoculars, rangefinder, and calls. You're going to be carrying some water, maybe some snacks, bags, and if you get something, you'll be packing the meat back on this too. So if you're hunting west, doing a lot of spot and stock, I'd recommend a multi-day pack. If you're hunting a tree stand out in the woods, I'd recommend just a day pack, because you're not going to take as much with you as if you're out there spot and stalking. I think that is pretty much it. So as far as the gear wise, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's pretty much it on the gear. Now we're going to kind of go into your scent control. One thing that you're going to want to be mindful of is your human scent. Deer, Their most predominant defense mechanism is their sense of smell. And the more that we can control our human scent while we're out in the field, the better off our success rate will be. So this right here, when we're talking about scent control, this is what I use. I don't know if you can see it. It's a dead downwind. This is a field spray. This one I've used up. It's not any good anymore. It's just an empty bottle. But dead downwind has really worked well for me. It takes care of multi types of human odor, food odor, exhaust odor, smoke odor, pet odor, foot odor, and contact, whatever that is. But anyway, it takes care of a lot of the scents that deer find alarming, and helps you become more scent free out in the field. So what I use the dead downwind soap or shampoo and bar soap. I use the dead downwind antiperspirant and the dead downwind field spray. They also have field wipes and a few other items too. Another thing that I use, especially when I'm in the tree stand, are the scent wafers. I use the Fresh Earth scent wafer. I put a couple of those in the tree with me. That way any odor that does accumulate while I'm sitting there, or if I start sweating going into the stand, it'll kind of help mask that. So your scent control is very important. You're going to want to make sure that you wash your clothes at least before you go out in the field. And I use the dead downwind laundry soap for that. So that helps a lot too. You're going to want to keep your hunting clothes, your camouflage, in a air-sealed or airtight compartment, whether that's a tub or a bag. I've got an ozone bag that I put my stuff in, and I've got a plastic tub that I put the other stuff in. So I use the bag for the stuff that I'm using during the season, and then I put the other stuff that I'm not going to be using for the rest of the season in the tub. So definitely get a airtight container that you can put your camouflage in, because you don't want to be going through all the scent control stuff, washing your clothes and doing all that, and then let it sit out and soak up the odors after you do that. So that'd just be a waste of time. Another thing that we're going to do before I let you guys go is you're going to want to get your hunter safety course taken care of if you haven't done that already, because if you don't have that, you will not be able to get a license. That's pretty much your kind of, I guess, diploma into hunting. It tells you, I want to say it's a 2 to 3 day course. It's been quite a few years since I've taken mine. Mine was a 5-day course when I took it. But you're going to go through the hunter's safety protocol, gun safety. Some states have different courses for archery hunting. New York is one of those. I had to take an archery course in New York when I went up there to hunt. And it goes over animal identification and a lot of other stuff. Great information within those classes, but you're going to need to pass that before you do anything else. So honestly, my recommendation is, if you don't have your hunter safety course already, Google that, just say hunter safety course in my area, and it'll pull up where you can go and take that. I would get that done and out of the way before you even think about buying any of this stuff, because last thing you want to do is to buy your stuff, get all ready to rock and roll, and then not be able to pass your hunter safety course, or not have one for that year, and then you're sitting on all this equipment not able to use it. So anyway, make sure you get your hunter safety course before you do any of this, and then you can go and start kind of shopping around and getting the stuff that you need to get started. Now, I hope this was helpful for all of you that are watching, and hopefully I wasn't all over the place with things, but I think I kind of kept it pretty streamlined. If you have any questions, you can always email me at Paul, it's Paul, at sizzlinarrow, sizzlinarrow.com. Happy to answer any questions for you. I do have a write-up of different things that I have here that I had sent to another gentleman a while ago that kind of breaks everything down for you, so I'm happy to send that over too. But again, that's Paul at sizzlinarrow.com. Make sure you check out the podcast, which is Sizzling Arrow Podcast. We are on Apple and Spotify right now, and of course you know the YouTube channel that you're watching it right now. But again, I hope this was helpful. Hopefully this will help someone that was kind of stuck get into it, or at least figure out what they are needing to purchase to get started. And again, happy to answer any questions. Just shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So thanks for watching, guys. Happy hunting, be safe, and we'll see you next time.